Grant that we may not seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For in giving we receive, and pardoning we are pardoned, and dying we are born into eternal life. Amen. Say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This House is in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 to be confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Announcements by Your Honor the Speaker. Messages from Her Excellency the President. Petitions, papers.
Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the report of the Judicial Council for the year 2019.
Government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remaining.
The question that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 7. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve, in accordance with Section 2 of the Special Loans Act, Chapter 105, the borrowing by the government of the sum of approximately Barbados $256,600,000 from Export-Import Bank of China to finance the execution of the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project.
Honourable Member Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning to make a very small but important contribution with respect to how this government, sir, having come to office, realizing that the state of the country at that time, sir, was in a state of peril, and that the obvious neglect, sir, with respect to the infrastructure across Barbados demanded, sir, that we take very clear and decisive action to be able to remedy first, sir, the fiscal condition and bring back some measure of stability to the public finance management. But equally, sir, to respond to a myriad of challenges that clearly, sir, demanded that as we right-size the fiscal position, realizing then that the ability, sir, to be able to execute capital expenditure would require financing that we were not capable, sir, at that specific point in time to be able to execute, given the absolute demand, sir, with respect to on the public purse to respond to a myriad of issues. And so, sir, we set about identifying, sir, a number of very long-standing issues that were affecting the country and started to determine how, sir, we will seek to access the appropriate financing to be able to bring improvement with respect to a range of services. And so this morning, sir, the resolution before the chamber is the culmination, sir, of an extraordinary amount of work that we have had to put in, certainly over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, having identified initially where we would access these monies from. But as you would recall, sir, we had to respond first and foremost to the social pressures that COVID-19 certainly were causing on all of our citizens. But we gave the assurance, sir, to the persons within the area defined under the Scotland District, sir, the assurance that we remain committed, sir, with respect to being able to resolve the long-standing issues in terms of road conditions, drainage, access to water, and a number of very critical public utilities for which those citizens, sir, deserve like any other citizen in this country. And I start here, sir, because it is important that as we discuss the quantum for which we are seeking to access to respond to the Scotland District Rehabilitation Project, that we understand that when we came to office, sir, and realized that when sewage was flowing freely on the south coast of Barbados, sir, we indicated to all Barbadians that whilst you may not have been living on the south coast, sir, that it impacted all of us equally, and therefore the process of burden sharing, if you like, sir, in responding to that matter. Similarly, sir, I signal to Barbadians that as we go about this specific initiative and start the commencement of the physical works, sir, to be reminded, sir, that we live in a country where the government has the responsibility, sir, for responding to those very critical things that we cannot do for ourselves, sir. And therefore, the extent to which this project is absolutely critical has to be underscored. Now, I had a good fortune, sir, last week to do a tour of some of the areas, sir, designated here. And I can tell you, sir, that as a tongue man, one must always appreciate very much, sir, the beauty of the East Coast. And I think all of us in here, sir, will look forward to spending those very good times that we have with our people, sir, in that space once again. But the reality is, sir, that the Scotland District is a special part of Barbados. And whilst on that tour, sir, we were reminded of one, first and foremost, sir, how Barbados itself was formed, which is the merging of the Caribbean plate with the Atlantic plate, sir, and how Barbados, sir, sat on top of the mountain range, is the only part of that mountain range where the two plates meet, sir, that is above sea level. And therefore, Barbados, by design, if you like, sir, is a special place. Equally, sir, the Scotland District representing approximately 1/7, sir, of the physical space of Barbados, because of the geomorphology, sir. I'm not going to get too technical into this morning, sir, but the geomorphology is very different, sir, from the rest of Barbados. And anybody who visits the Scotland district would clearly see the difference between the rock formations in that area vis-a-vis the rest of Barbados. So by design, sir, the Scotland district is a special part of Barbados. And therefore, the extent to which, sir, this resolution this morning forms part, sir, of the Special Loans Act, sir, it is important to understand that how we respond to this part of Barbados, sir, is absolutely critical. And I'm proud, sir, to be part of a government that, in spite of all of the challenges that we have been confronted with, sir, over the last 4 years, that we still work, sir, to bring resolution for the ordinary things that matter, sir, in people's lives. And therefore, sir, this quantum of money being asked, approximately 815 million renminbi, sir, which is the Chinese currency, which approximates to $256 million, $6,600,000. That this represents, sir, perhaps the single largest investment, sir, that any government, sir, has undertaken to embark on any part of Barbados, sir. And therefore, I believe, sir, that if the persons who are living within the area designated as the Scotland district can feel a sense of hope and pride that a government, sir, has taken to heart their concerns. And as I say, sir, whilst we may visit the area, obviously persons who live there have a completely different experience to those of us who come from town, sir, and only visit for a short period. But we recognize, sir, that we cannot allow any part of Barbados, sir, to be either cut off or do not have access, sir, to services, whether it is ambulance services, sir, the fire truck has to respond, the police, sir, have to respond in the same way as they do in the urban corridor, sir. People visit for leisure, potential for investment, sir. All of these things matter for the Scotland district, just as they do, sir, for St. Michael or Christchurch or St. Philip or the rest of Barbados. And as we have done, sir, with respect to improving the access of water, particularly, sir, because as I said, sir, the lack of water services when we came to office for these areas were in deplorable state, and we took decisions, sir, with respect to putting on budget over the last 2 fiscal years to help bring relief to the residents of these areas, and I know that that work is continuing by the Barbados Water Authority. I know that today, the residents of these areas are having a better experience with respect to access to water than when we came to office. I know the work is not yet completed, sir, but I believe that the people of Barbados can see the efforts that this government has undertaken to improve the lives of ordinary citizens who reside in these areas. Mr. Speaker, this loan, and I speak in this context because there's been much said in recent times about how much debt the government has undertaken, how it will be repaid, sir. And these are legitimate questions, which, as we have said from the very outset, sir, that in order for us as a country to be able to get out of the situation that we found ourselves in, sir, we simply had to ensure that the monies that we were spending at that time, sir, to finance what was clearly unsustainable debt because of, one, the multiple downgrades that we suffered, sir, which meant that any debt that was issued, sir, attracted a significantly high level of interest which was literally, sir, choking the life out of this country. And so, having completed the debt restructuring, sir, it has been this government's absolute focus to ensure that any debt that we incur were related not just to the priorities that the country needed to address, but equally, sir, that the cost associated with servicing that debt that the country would be able to undertake. You would recall, sir, that the last, prior to us taking office, the last major debt that we undertook from the capital market, sir, because of the mismanagement of the last government, ended up costing us, sir, almost 12% in interest by the time we took office in May of 2018. Which, by any stretch of the imagination, sir, no part of the world, no government should be paying 12% on interest rates for anything, sir. And if you find yourself in that position, sir, it means that something fundamentally has gone so wrong that you have to bear these types of interest costs, because all that means, sir, is that whatever taxes are collected, you're paying more to service debt and crowding out, sir, the ability to provide and improve the delivery of public services, for which, sir, we are all elected to be able to help to do and to improve. But why now, sir? And I hope that members of the public would appreciate, sir, that was the timing of this resolution in the context of what's happening globally. I hope, sir, through you, that the public will get a clear appreciation that interest rates, sir, for the first time in a long time are rising globally. And I will come to the terms and conditions of the loan, just to give some perspective. But equally, sir, because, or especially because interest rates are starting to rise globally, sir, and the consensus generally, sir, is that rates will continue to rise in the short to medium term as both the authorities in North America as well as Europe seek to try to respond to the latest set of shocks through the use of monetary policy, interest rates, in order to help curb inflation. The reality is, sir, that whilst over the last few years, those countries have been able to use quite a large amount of quantitative easing to help the economies get through the COVID-19 shock. The reality is that the rapid increase in global commodity prices, as well as now the rapid increase, sir, with respect to fuel prices, has meant that has created uncertainty within the context of the markets, and therefore the monetary authorities are seeking to use monetary tools. And there's some debate, sir, as to how effective it would be, but the reality is that those monetary tools are getting more expensive in the market space, and therefore it is important that the country recognizes that our ability, sir, to be able to finance these very critical works, that we do so in as sustainable a way as possible. And the extent to which we are doing this now, sir, allows us some very critical space, sir, to be able to execute these works relatively cheaply, sir, with respect to the quantum of works that are expected to be done, relatively cheaply given what is happening and available globally from a financing perspective, in order to keep our debt trajectory, sir, in line, and that the debt service with respect to that we are capable of being able to deliver, sir, in the medium to long term. And so, sir, I will speak very, very briefly on the structure of the term sheet, sir. Just very briefly, for the avoidance of any doubt, sir. And therefore, I just beg your indulgence, sir, with respect to, and I will make reference to the schedule, sir, at this particular point, just to make it abundantly clear what it is that we are dealing with. And so, sir, as I indicated earlier, the government of Barbados is borrowing from the lender, the Export-Import Bank of China. It is approximately, sir, $256,600,000 or 815,500,000 renminbi, sir, which is the currency of that is being, the loan is being executed in. The purpose, sir, is to finance the execution of the Scotland District Rehabilitation Project, and the term of the loan, sir, is 20 years. What I want to impress upon the public, sir, through you, is that there will be a grace period of 60 months, sir, from the effective date of the agreement. 60 months, 5 years, sir. 5 years grace period, which means, sir, we have some time and space, sir, to get the works done before we start to repay the loan under the terms and conditions as agreed. 20 years, sir, a grace period of 60 months from the effective date of the agreement. The repayment, sir, will be 31 equal semi-annual installments. And the interest rate, sir, the interest rate is 2% per annum. And for the avoidance of doubt, sir, I remind the public that the last set of borrowings that the government of Barbados undertook prior to us taking office, sir, the cost associated with those loans was in the region of 12%. And therefore, as I indicated earlier, when we undertook the debt restructuring, we recognized, sir, that we still had to continue the financing of the work that we had to do. And having identified this as a priority area, sir, we have sought to secure the most reasonable long-term financing, sir, under quite favorable terms in order to be able to address this very, 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 very critical part of the country, which, sir, as you would appreciate, if 1/7 of your house, sir, was rendered not capable of being fully occupied, that will concern you. And therefore, as a Barbadian, sir, we must appreciate that the efforts that will be required to rehabilitate the road infrastructure, particularly within the Scotland District, is absolutely important for a whole host of reasons, And I hope that in signaling today the government's absolute commitment, sir, to being able to bring back a measure of pride, and I know that everybody wants to drive on smooth roads, and having done that tour last week, I must admit, sir, a little shame, because there was a few roads that I didn't even realize existed in Barbados, because normally when one goes to Bathsheba, sir, there's a certain route that you take to Bathsheba. But I must admit, sir, that whilst we may all traverse the usual routes to get to and from the East Coast, there are obviously a whole host of other roads that many Barbadians may not be aware of, like myself, sir, I admit it, that require our absolute attention. And I want to say this, sir, because as we have sought to, and I know that the Honourable Member for St. Philip South has been working very aggressively to bring back agriculture across the landscape of this country. Part of unlocking economic activity, sir, in this country, and certainly the Scotland District is an area that is prime for agricultural development. It is important, sir, that from a food security perspective, that we're able to stabilize the road infrastructure within the Scotland District, which then helps, obviously, with respect to us being able to attract or allowing locals, sir, to expand their operations within the context from an agriculture perspective within that area, attract new investment, potentially, sir, with respect to not just tourism, but equally for locals to be able to do business and know that people can get to and from their businesses, or they can get their produce out to the market as appropriate, given that the road infrastructure would be improved. So there are a whole host of reasons, sir, why this is absolutely critical at this time. And it is I hope and pray, sir, that we can have, I keep saying this, sir, I hope that we can get 2, 3, 4 years, sir, of relative ease just to be able to execute on a number of fronts so that Barbadians, sir, can start to feel, I think, generally speaking, a sense that we are turning the corner. I suspect, sir, that with this renewed investment by the government of Barbados into the Scotland district, that once completed, sir, that we will start to see almost like a renaissance, if you like, with respect to a whole host of activities within the Scotland district. Persons residing in the space, sir, will feel no less secure than anybody in town, sir, or Christchurch, where I'm from, and certainly where I represent, sir. And therefore, recognizing that as we seek to challenge, sir, the world to respond to the climate crisis, that this is a clear signal that whilst this area is special to us, that we too are responding to the challenges that are unique, if you like, to the Barbadian circumstance, and that we are, sir, not just talking the talk, but we actually walking the walk by being able to make the appropriate resources available, sir, to be able to improve the lives and the livelihoods for all those who may reside in the space. The disbursement period, sir, is 48 months from the effective date of the agreement. So, effectively, sir, we have 4 years to draw down all of the monies and get the works executed. And let me, I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, sir, but I know that some design work has to be done because, as you know, sir, because of the unique nature of the space, doing a road in St. Andrew or St. Joseph, sir, is very different from doing a road in Bank Hall or in Kingsland. And therefore, we are absolutely making sure that from an engineering perspective, sir, that we have the best engineering response being done so that whenever the roads are constructed, sir, that it gives the best chance, sir, of the roads actually holding, given that we know that the area is prone certainly to slippage, and therefore a lot of attention will be paid with respect to the engineering side, and therefore I'm sure that the Ministry of Transport and Works and Water Resources will obviously be communicating these with the residents of the areas in a timely manner, such that obviously they will be kept up to date with respect to what is happening within the space. So 48 months, sir, literally, for us to get our designs completed. We've already started building gabions since 2 years ago, sir. We designed a program to help accelerate that, to be able to make sure that those technologies, as we know, are effective, can work within the space. I'm sure that if I couldn't possibly speak, sir, for appropriately for the member for St. Andrew, but the former member for St. Andrew, sir, whilst he was here, was quite vociferous with respect to specific areas of that constitution that required attention. We have given the commitment, sir, to those persons, but certainly as we do so, and I will allow, obviously, the Honourable Member to speak to that specifically, but I want to signal to all of the residents within the space that we are putting the resources in place in order to help respond to the conditions of the road infrastructure within the Scotland district. It will take some time. We have 4 years to get it done, but it is not the same. I'm just setting expectations, sir. The building a road in that area is very different from building a road, sir, in the rest of Barbados, given the geology of the space. So just to recap, sir, 20 years duration, 5 years grace period, 2% interest, and we have 48 months, sir, within which to draw down the monies in order to be able to get the projects on the way. Commitment fee, sir, 0.25% per annum on the undisbursed balance, paid semi-annually, sir. So obviously, as we draw down the money, we will pay the commitment fees on the basis of how much money we draw down at a time, which is obviously, sir, very, 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 very reasonable. And there's a management fee, sir, on the aggregate amount of approximately Barbados $641,530 payable in one lump sum within 30 days, sir, of the effective date of the agreement. And the governing law, sir, is the law of China. So, sir, this, I believe, and I hope, sir,